Well, when I'm writing, I always write on two tracks. There is this one track that is kind of about genre and plot, and in this particular case, I wanted to make an homage to the 80s sci-fi films that I love. I wanted to make a government chase movie. I wanted to make a movie that where guys had to move on back roads through the American South, mostly at night. All these kind of cool elements that definitely fall into the kind of genre category and the plot category, which isn't something that, oddly enough, I focus on too much in the writing. It's like, but there are those kinds of ideas. And then there's this other track and these other types of inspirations, which are all personal. When I write, I try and think about my own life, and I try and think about feelings that I'm having in my life. And the thinking is, if I can attach this story to something really emotional and personal for me, then maybe it'll feel really emotional and personal to other people. And in this particular case, it was all about having a young son. It's partly this feeling of helplessness, and then you also have to just kind of give over to this idea that there's this other person in your life that you would do anything for, but that you really have no control over. And that idea really was the basis for Midnight Special. This idea that a father and a mother have to deal with the illness of their child, and they have no real say in it. They're doing everything in their power to affect it or help it or control it, but they really have no real power over it. They don't know what these manifestations are, these abilities. They don't understand them. And we as an audience aren't supposed to understand them either. We don't know if they're negative symptoms of something, or if they're signs of something more. And the big thought there is, I think our kids are going to be who they're going to be, and you have to kind of understand that. And you have to figure that out as they're growing up. You have to figure out what they're meant for. And you have to have faith in the idea that they're going to be okay as long as you support who they are. And that's a pretty heady thing to apply to a kid with beams of light coming out of his eye. But that's the idea. I think there is a way to orient the story that makes people feel like they haven't seen it before. And all of that is about information. You have all of this information in a story, and how am I going to give it to you? And one thing I realized really from my first film, Shotgun Stories, is if you remove information, the audience is extraordinarily good at making connections. In fact, they want to. In fact, that's how their brains work. When an audience member sits down and a movie starts, they immediately start going, is that person's brother? Is that person sleeping with that person? Who? Oh, I saw that one look. He hates that person. Like, we are designed as audience members to start to make connections between characters. So it's a fascinating thing to play off of and to play with. And you can actually, you can kind of lead people one way and then bring something else up. Well, he's just kind of this guy that's trying to figure stuff out. And in developing the character, and Adam Driver was actually really helpful at this, because I was very quick when I met him the first time to enunciate, I think, my fear of like, look, your character scares me the most because he could be the most fake. And Adam, I really think, took that challenge up and started to figure out character details that I didn't necessarily even have written into the script, but I think maybe I'd started to kind of scratch the surface of, and he really helped deepen. I'm very fortunate that I write things that Mike Shannon wants to do. And so when he shows up to set, he understands the character. And so we don't rehearse. We just kind of start rolling. And by the end of it, you'll have 8 takes, all of them totally in the wheelhouse, but all of them slightly different. He's like a precision race car in that sense. You turn the wheel ever so slightly and he goes. And I think he's able to hold emotion on his face in a way that many actors can't. And it very much suits the style that I write in. I thought it was very brave on her part. She was willing to do the things necessary. And we talked about this going into it. It's like, look, this woman doesn't wear makeup because she came from a religious ranch. She has this very bizarre braid. That's how she wears her hair. She is only a couple years out from having made all of her own clothes in these really strange pink and blue dresses. So she probably went to, the Dollar General and bought some jeans and a old, jacket, and that's her wardrobe, So we did everything aesthetically we could, to work against how beautiful Kirsten is. And it works, I think you just immediately start to understand who she is just from looking at her. Jaden is one of these young actors that it's uncanny. I don't know what DNA concoction makes them come out this way, but they just get it. They get the subtext. They get the situation that they're in. And Jaden had all of that in spades. He came in, he read for about 5 minutes. I talked to him, and I was like, yeah, this is one of the smartest kids I've ever met. And he's perfect. He looks right. He's the right size. And honestly, he handled himself every bit as well as any adult actor on that set. As you go along on this journey, the boy's starting to understand his purpose, but also Mike Shannon's character is really trying to figure it out, because everybody's asking why are they going to this place? Why are we traveling in this place? I remember when Mike Shannon first read the script, he was even like, all right, you got to tell me why, because you don't explain anything ever. So why are we going to this place? And I was like, look, this is about belief in something. And you don't understand it, you don't know it, you can't explain it, but you believe that this is important, that this destination is important, and even maybe larger and more important than that is that this boy doing what he needs to do is important, and you have to have faith in that. You have to believe in that. Sam Shepard's character, Calvin, is in charge of everything. He runs the place. But it's unique maybe from other kind of zealot religious places in that they have this manifestation of a real miracle that was born onto the ranch. And I think Sam Shepard's character, probably what I would imagine is he's a pretty smart guy. You have to be pretty savvy, I think, to kind of command this group of people and have them do things that you say are true. And if you're going to tell people that you have a direct link to God, then you've got to have some things going on in your brain. And I would think if a person like that saw a boy with these unique gifts born into his community, he would try and take ownership of that as quickly as possible.